Good evening. I call to order the joint meeting of the Housing and Human Welfare Committee, Housing and Community Development. At 7:34, Alderman Joe Budge, myself, Alderman Kirby, staff, Ms. Teresa Bauman, and Ms. Terry Bond are present, as well as Mr. Tibbs and Ms. Tanika Takia Green. Okay, I'll call to order business before the committee's approval of the minutes of the meeting of October.
No, that's the meeting of July 18th.
Oh my God.
We haven't had the October meeting yet.
That's the meeting of July. I stand corrected. The meeting of July minutes, approval of the minutes for the meeting of July 27th.
So, Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the minutes of the meeting of July 18th.
And I'll second. Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
All disapprove, same sign, ayes have it. Let the record reflect that. It's a 2-0 vote. Appointments and reappointments to the committees. It's the only order of business we have here tonight. And we have 2 appointments. I'm going to ask Dr. Colby Peters to take the table. And for some odd reason, this great citizen wants to be a member of the Housing and Community Development Committees. So, let me just ask you, Ms. Peters, just go through what made you, I see where you were seeds for success. Thank you very much. I thought I recognized the face, but I'm not over there that often, but I did recognize your face from somewhere, and that's probably where.
Where did you?
At Seeds for Success.
That's right, yeah, that's
Seeds
right.
for Success.
Yep. So thank you for having me. I've actually been interested in being on this committee for a while. I am a social worker. I got both my master's and my PhD in social work. And my research specialty is organizational development and leadership. So for my dissertation, I focused on looking at how organizations, specifically those in human services and social work, could function better given the unique needs of human services, including emotional labor and limited resources. I love Annapolis. I've lived here since I was 15, so it's been a few years, and I've always been interested in the public housing situation, specifically because I think that there's always some improvements that can be made in that area, and I'm very interested in community development as well. So as a social worker, I'm just always focused on how to make equal opportunity for everybody in the area, and I think a really good way to do that would be for me to have the opportunity to serve on this committee.
Thank you. Any questions?
Not so much a question as an observation. One of the challenges that we have that has been extremely frustrating as a council member is the mayor can appoint members of the Housing Authority Board. Council gets to approve them or not, as the case may be. But after that's done, we have no influence over the Housing Authority.
Okay, so just to make sure that I understand, there are members of the Housing Authority that can be appointed to the committee, but the council does not have any say in the
other way around.
Okay.
The Housing Authority Board of Directors is appointed by the mayor and council of the city of Annapolis.
Okay.
Following which, the Housing Authority is supposed to come in and deliver a report quarterly. But that's it.
Okay.
If the council does not like what's in the report or anything else, we can't do a thing about it.
I see. Okay.
And so one of the challenges for this committee is going to be figuring out, what do we do about that?
Right. Okay. So that is a challenge. I really believe that in an organization or in a group of organizations that are supposed to be working together, what it really comes down to is building relationships, right? So I truly believe that anybody who works, who is on a committee or is an alderman or on the Board of Housing is there because they're really interested in being there and they want to serve their community. So I think what happens is it's often a lack of communication and also just a lack of relationship building and a lack of sort of understanding between various parties. So one of my specialties is, I wouldn't call it mediation exactly, but I would call it the ability to kind of bring people together and facilitate communication and figure out the best way for people to work together, because I think ultimately we all kind of want the same thing, right? So we all want people in Annapolis to have equal opportunity to quality housing and equal opportunities in Annapolis, and so the trick is just to find out what is the best way to do that. But I do see your point about there's an interesting power dynamic there that would be, it can be difficult to overcome, but I think it can.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Ms. Wellman.
I just wanted to add something about that is the Housing Authority is state enabling legislation.
Mm-hmm.
So the commission, the way the city appoints the way the mayor appoints is all governed by state enabling legislation.
Okay. Okay.
So.
Gotcha. Okay.
So there's a whole thing in the state code
Mm-hmm.
that talks about housing authority.
I see.
So I will make sure you get a copy of that.
Yeah.
Because
So,
since you're interested.
I am interested. So one of the other things I've done in the past is I have done policy work and analysis, and I think, as you know, being on this committee for the first several months, I will just be spending time kind of understanding the dynamics of how this all works, because I know that it can be complicated and complex sometimes, and also just learning who the different players are and building relationships and so on, because I think it's important to have a really good understanding of exactly what's going on before you attempt to, you know, make suggestions, give advice, make any kind of changes. So, you know, the first several months will be spent, and I know we only meet, what, once a month?
But you can always come and talk to me.
Okay, great. So I'm really looking forward to contributing to this committee and to the city of Annapolis, using my skills both in policy analysis and policy work, and also organizational development and kind of relationship building.
Ms. Vaughn.
Well, I guess the observation I have, because I've been lucky enough to be on the committee for a number of years, a lot of what we do, especially as a citizen rep, is review the block grant application. And so a lot of what you're talking about, it doesn't really seem to be something now that the committee, especially citizen reps on the committee, do. The kinds of things you're offering to do would, I mean, staff can better talk about it, but I'm sure there's a lot of opportunity for what you want to do, but I'm not sure being on this committee, at least right now, the way we're set up, is the way to do it.
Okay.
So, because the Housing Authority, I mean, we just had a report a little while ago that was eye-opening to many of us, at least me, and it was scary. And there seemed to be a lack of oversight, and there needs to be a policy analysis, and there needs to be some way to do it. But this committee, and you guys tell me I'm wrong, but that's not what we've been doing. So, because I don't want you to get here and to think that those are the kinds of things you'd be doing, because a lot of what we do is is oversight of the block grant. We do review legislation when it comes through.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, I mean, I think it's wonderful what you want to do, but I guess the city needs to figure out the best way to use that enthusiasm and expertise to get that going, because I'm not sure being on this committee is that.
Okay.
Okay, just to be honest, you know?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, I just want to use my expertise and my skills in service of Annapolis the best way that I can. So if that's being on the committee, great. If that's something else, that's fine too. If that's maybe being on the committee for a little while and just getting to know how things work, that's fine. I'm not in any kind of rush. So whatever you all think would be the best way to go is fine with me. I'm pretty flexible, so.
I think this is a good opportunity, opening to understand how city government works, and this
Sure.
committee, and there's other committees, and then also to staff, you know, to get to know staff and maybe, you know, some other opportunities. I'm not saying it's not, I just, you know, I mean, you learn a lot about what's going on in the city. You learn a lot from the aldermen about different things that are happening that aren't necessarily on the agendas per se, but the policy kind of work you're talking about so far isn't something
Sure.
we've really been doing, particularly as a citizen rep, which is
Sure.
what I am and what you will
Yeah,
be, so,
yeah.
okay.
I definitely appreciate what you're saying, but I want to assure you that I'm very open-minded, very go with the flow. So I will work on and do whatever is most appropriate for the time and the place.
Well, and I would also welcome on the committee citizen representatives that are able to say to the council members, hey, this is what you need to be working on, you know, and, you know, help drive the agenda if there are bases that need to be covered.
And if I can add anything, again, this committee's going to be brand new, and I don't think we really have a choice but to get this very committee involved and the issues that's going to impact public housing in this city
Sure, yeah.
for the next 4 years and in a more immediate future, regardless of who's the mayor.
Right.
I doubt very seriously a new mayor would come in and purge this board. Again, this board just got together nearing the end of the term, so there really hasn't been a whole bunch of movement toward the business of dealing with public housing.
I see. So you all have been going through kind of a significant transition period.
Well, not us, the housing authority has, which consequently has prevented any movements toward repairing public housing or just having that dialogue to find out exactly what's needed and how, in fact, this committee could actually help.
Right, I understand.
But there are some avenues and the grant writing areas and research, and that Ms. Wellman's pretty adept at doing, and your resume says that you're pretty adept at doing some of those same things. I hear you. I welcome you to this committee. She has legislation pending that would in fact make citizen participation have a vote on this board. So, and that I think that will come out with the next council. So.
Great.
I just want to add two things. I mean, like you said, when the Housing Authority Board, the new members came and talked to us, they promised they'd come back with quarterly discussions, and we talked at that time about really asking for specific things and not just waiting for them to come back with road, and that's really something that's changing. The other thing is I would broaden it from public housing. I would say affordable housing, and that's the big issue that this town has at all the forums. And I don't think people understand that affordable housing is very difficult. I mean, and so
in Annapolis, yes.
Well, in general it is too, but in Annapolis, and so it's not just public housing, and and a lot of times people look at some of the subsidized housing as public housing. It's not. So is broadening that picture. I mean, that's something maybe, you know, could be part of that discussion and what's happening in the city. So.
Sure, great, wonderful.
So, Mr. Chair, I move that we recommend Dr. Peters' appointment favorably to the entire council.
A second. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign. The ayes have it. welcome aboard. We will be
Thank you.
putting you forth to the full council.
Wonderful.
And they will confirm you.
Okay, wonderful. Very
Yes.
exciting. Thank you all so much. I'm really looking forward
Thank
to
you.
working with you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
volunteering to
Sure,
serve our
yeah.
city.
Yeah, sure. Yes.
So where do you live in Ward 2?
Monterey Avenue. So
Okay.
West Minneapolis, across from.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Okay. Well, thank you all. And,
Thank you.
What? Yeah. Okay. What time is it?
Very much a formality.
Okay. It's Monday.
Ever since I've gotten here, they've never spoken about the appointments. They just pass them all together.
Oh, okay.
Spoken about them at the actual, other than say thank you and
No.
no. Okay, so you don't have to.
Okay.
I saw them.
Okay. All right. Okay. Great.
What's today's date?
The 20th.
And we have just one more appointment, and it would be to the Commission on Aging, Miss Judith Branham, 19 Silverwood Circle.
Yep. Kyle Tibbs. Do what? Do I look like Judith Brenham? Miss Branham could not make it tonight. She does not drive during nighttime. Their meetings are during the day. So I'm here to speak on her behalf if you have any questions. She holds the recommendation of the staff liaison, which is myself, and obviously the mayor, and the chairman of the board, or commission.
And have you met and interviewed her?
I spoke with her on the phone. The mayor reviewed her resume and spoke with the chairman, Wayne Taylor, and received his feedback and appointed her last week, or nominated her last week. The commission specifically, in their discussions over the last couple months, they would like someone with a medical background specific to aging. As you can see on her resume, she has 20 years worth of medical history or employment. So they reached out to her and she applied.
Excellent.
I don't have anything.
Mr. Chair, I move Ms. Brannon's, that we endorse Ms. Brannon's appointment to the entire council.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
No discussion? I should have said that first.
That-
I second. All in favor, is aye. And all
Aye.
opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Thank you.
You may inform her that she will be favorably recommended to the full council. That concludes a short agenda tonight. Is there any general discussion?
Just want to give you a quick update of where we are in terms of CDBG.
Okay.
I finished the annual report. I'm still waiting for the public comment period to finish, so I will probably email it out to you. It's not due until the 28th. That's the caper. The applications will go out in October. I don't see that we need to make any changes unless there's things that the committee has a suggestion that we change in the CDBG application. Any thing you'd like to see in there that is so those will probably go out. I'll try to get those out usually I get them out the second week in October. I have no idea if we're going to be funded. I mean, the president's budget eliminates CDBG. I can't imagine that that will happen, but the thing that I do worry about is, over the years, HUD has tried to take all the entitlement jurisdictions that get less than $500,000 and throw them into either the small cities program or into the urban county program. So the small cities would mean we would compete like we do with the SG, statewide, or we could join with the county. I don't know if they're gonna try to do that or not. That's the thing I'm more concerned about than I am it not getting funded, because I just think there's gonna be an uproar from all the governors and, on that. Typically we usually have a public hearing in November. I can postpone that until January, or we can count the February meeting if the Housing and Community Development Committee, if only the Housing and Human Welfare Committee wants to meet in November and December, because we won't really have anything, I won't have anything for the agenda that I can think of right now.
Okay.
So.
And it's probably better that the next persons to comprise this board be here for that initial meeting.
Right, so
and
you.
the next funding cycle, yeah.
Right, now, probably in January, that's when I'll have the CDBG applications available to that committee.
So housing
And hopefully I'll get to brief the committee on what their role is.
in
So,
November.
but I don't-
We won't meet again.
think I'll have anything for the full committee, except for the legislation, and I'm still sitting on the legislation about changing the quorum, and I'd like to actually get some feedback from Terry. You know how the quorum has to be 2 alderpersons? What I've tried to do in the legislation is change it so that the quorum is only 1 alderperson and 3 members of the committee.
Oh, so it could be that.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Is that okay with you?
I don't have any problems. Alderman Lippman had none.
Okay.
Alderman Budge had none.
Yeah, because we don't count.
I know, and I was, I feel bad about that.
I think I'm a firm believer that if you're on the committee, you ought to have a vote.
Right.
Every, these honorary positions are,
Right.
it's real hard to get people to sign up for that.
Well, it was years before I realized that one of the previous
Well, there's.
alderpersons once said, and you guys don't count.
Yeah.
What have applications that just don't have the ability to nominate?
Well, the problem is that there's an aldermanic standing committee in the middle of the Housing and Community Development Committee. And there's things that they take up that the full committee doesn't take up, like tonight. That was really Housing and Human Welfare Committee, it wasn't Housing and.
I couldn't vote on.
Right.
But not all citizen reps know they can't vote.
Yeah, it's very confusing.
It doesn't really matter.
And in actuality, if you read the code, basically you guys should be doing the CDBG planning and you guys should be writing, because that's the way the code reads, so. We need to make some changes to it, but just initially, I'd just like to change that quorum issue so that, a quorum can be 1 alderperson and the members of the committee.
And those 3 members of the committee couldn't be another alderperson too, right?
They could.
Yeah.
But still, it wouldn't be like if we didn't have, if we had but 1 alderman show up, we could still move forward with a meeting.
Right. I think that makes sense.
So I will, I'm gonna take one more look at it. And then I'll send it out, and if anybody has some comments, and then I'll take it to the city, I'll put it in on the agenda, city council agenda. And, that's it, I don't have anything else to say, other than it's been certainly a pleasure working with both Alderman and Alderman Littman, because he's gonna be gone too.
Really?
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
not.
this whole board is gonna change.
He didn't run for reelection. Depends on, you know.
Actually, it's been, well, I'm not even sure, I'm still gonna be on, because I'm the board.
It's up to him. Well, not up to him, it's up to the mayor, but,
It's up to the mayor, but you serve until replaced.
Yeah, but I wasn't sure if that was my replacement.
no. There's one more vacancy.
Yeah, I just probably wouldn't want everybody on board to.
And actually, the housing authority person needs to be here. And that person needs to start to come.
Right, well, Jacqueline, tonight, I didn't let her know because she doesn't have a car.
Mhm.
And I wasn't gonna have enough time to go between, I had a conference, so I wouldn't have enough time to go.
Well,
pick her
I
up.
can almost assure you that
But-
Shanika will request to be on this board, and she's got some fire.
Right, and she will maybe be able to pressure the,
Yeah.
housing authority and
Yeah.
get the committee to say,
Mhm.
okay, this is the night that we want you to come and
Mhm.
report.
So is Dr. Powers replacing Jeanette?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Because she has.
Or either, yeah, or Kate.
Okay. Oh, Kate's not.
It doesn't, it's not official until I go in there.
Oh,
After the city
alright,
council
okay.
approves it, I'll go in there and take you out.
Yeah.
Well, I enjoy serving on the committee. I've been on for a while.
And if, if Shanika knows anybody that's a citizen that would like to be on the committee.
I've approved 4 people.
Oh, for this committee? Oh, I didn't know that. I just I knew about the one. Cool. Well, we might have a full committee. That'll be great.
So what that last step.
Okay, anything else for good of the order?
I got nothing.
Well, I'll entertain a motion.
Move, we adjourn.
Moved to second, all in favor, aye, all opposed, same sign, ayes have it, meeting adjourned.
Say what?
See you in November.